Hello and welcome to replicate this After Effects edition, exercise number 1. We are going to be animating the letters to the word Fantasia, or Fantasia if you're Italian, onto the screen with sort of a psychedelic tweening background. And the first thing we're going to do is start off in Illustrator, not After Effects at all. So I've opened up 1-fantasiatext.ai, which you can download from Learning Suite, and you will see that it's just 8 black letters on a white background. They've already been converted to outlines, so you don't need to worry about that. However, we do need to break them onto separate layers, individual layers. The way that you probably know now to do that is to go to your Layers panel. I got my Layers panel open, and to visit the Flyout menu, which is this little icon right there. Every single panel in every single Adobe program has the same Flyout panel button. And we're going to click it, and we're going to go down to Release to Layers Sequence. Release to Layers Sequence is going to put each letter on its own sublayer inside of Layer 1. You can see that it actually counts backwards, F-A-N-T-A-S-I-A, from bottom to top. We need to get layers 2 through 9 out of layer 1 for After Effects to recognize them as separate layers, however. So let's just select all of these and drag them down here and to the left. And we will see that we have now an empty layer 1, which used to be the master layer. We can just delete that. We can drag it to the trash, and now we just have layers 2 through 9. 8 layers. That's all we need. That's all we need to do. However, we do need to save, I should say. I'm going to save this. You just need to save. I'm going to save as. I'm saving mine as a tutorial file name. You can just save yours and then import it into After Effects. Okay, I no longer need Illustrator. Now that I've assured that my sublayers are actual layers and I've saved it, I'm going to get rid of Illustrator and we're going to go into After Effects. Okay, let's import that Illustrator file that we just made and broke onto layers. Fantasia text, there it is. You guessed it, we're going to import it as a composition, retaining layer sizes. I'm going to click Open. I'm going to double click the composition I just made. I'm not going to open up any folders or drag anything anywhere. And I'm going to be disappointed because I'm going to see that I have 8 layers here, but I can't actually see anything. So we need to visit composition settings, which is what? I can hear you all saying it now. Command K. Correct, Command K. Opens up composition settings. I don't like this 792 by 612. I believe that's an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper converted to pixels. I'd like to work at 720p. You're free to work at full 1080 if you'd like. I'm going to go with 1280 by 720. You might have room on your computer to do 1920 by 1080. It doesn't really matter. Frame rate 30, square pixels is good. Duration 15 seconds is good. Background color. That is the biggest problem right now, is that we can't see our black letters. So let's change our background color. I like my favorite color is strawberry personally. You can change it to whatever color you want though, because that will be changing later. Okay. Now let's take a look at the example. I didn't show you the example at the beginning. That might have been a mistake. Fantasia text example.move. This is what we're going to make right here. So we got these white letters flying in from off screen. We got the psychedelic pulsating background. All right, now, wait, what did I just say? White letters? White letters? We have black letters here. Okay, one way we could do an edit to these letters is to go back into Illustrator to edit original and change the color. However, I want to show you a way to change the color of vector or rasterized images in After Effects using something that you might recognize from Photoshop. It's under Layer. It's called Layer Styles. We're going to go to Color Overlay, and all of our layers will open up and show us Color Overlay. So I'm going to just scroll to the top to Layer 2, flip down Color Overlay. Now you probably can't see this very clearly, but all of my letters are red behind the selection there. There you go. That's enough to make your eyes vibrate. I'm going to reselect Command A, select all my layers. And if I have all my layers selected and I click this color selector and I change it to white all of my letters at the same time will change to white using a color overlay. Okay, and I can always hide that at any time by unchecking the eyeball there. Okay, I'm gonna close all of my layers by hitting U. U will reveal any keyframed property on a layer, or if you're showing something, it will close everything. It's sort of a toggle on and off button. Okay, so now we have our white layers on our colored background. It looks a little bit high. I want it to be a little bit more vertically centered. So I'm going to go back to my favorite guide in After Effects, which is the quote key, the single quote or the double quote key right next to your return key. That brings up these lines right here. More specifically, it brings up the crosshairs in the center. So I'm going to select all my layers and I'm going to bump them down just a bit so they appear more vertically centered. Quote key to get rid of the guides. Okay. Let's say I want our animation, I want our letters to fly in over the course of, I don't know, 2 seconds. Let's take 2 seconds to have our letters fly on screen. Now, from the example, you probably noticed, maybe you didn't notice. Let's take a look. What's actually happening here as our letters fly on screen? I'm reversing here. They start off very small and they start off transparent. Some of them are rotating, all of them are scaling, and they all settle into place very smoothly. All right, so that's going to be scale, that's going to be rotation, and position, obviously, because they're starting off screen and ending in the middle of it. I'm going to Command A. I'm going to click P. I'm going to hold down Shift while I click R and S. Holding down Shift while you select these other hotkeys adds those properties to your visual display here in the timeline. Okay, now we're going to do a little bit of working backwards here. Let's jump to 2 seconds, which is where we want to have everything resolve in the center of our screen. I'm going to hit plus here to zoom in a little bit. Command Option left directional arrow key to go to home. Okay, 2 seconds on our timeline. I'm going to go back 1, Command left arrow to get to 2 seconds exactly. And then I'm going to set a keyframe for position, scale, and rotation by hitting, with all my layers selected, by hitting Option P. There's our position keyframes on all layers because they're all selected. Option R and Option S. Okay, I know that at 2 seconds I want all of my letters to be settled into place right here. Okay, but what I want them to be doing at 0, well, let's jump to 0 on our timeline. And I know, I'm going to zoom into my comp so I can select. Well, no, I don't want to do that because I need to drag them off, don't I? I know that I want them to all start off screen, and there's going to be a little bit of a non-scientific approach to this next part because for the position start point, I'm just going to drag my letters off screen like this. I want my A to come in from down there, and I want this T to come in from way up here, and S maybe comes down from the bottom, and this A comes from down there, this A might come from there. This I comes from down there. Let's see, I'm going to Command A. No letters, there's very few letters coming from the top. So I'm going to, oops, that pesky scale thing. Make sure you don't grab a handle. Okay. And then I'm going to jump using my navigational arrows, the ever so valuable navigational arrows that you should use every time you use After Effects. To jump to that second keyframe, hit N on my keyboard to set the work area, spacebar to preview. Okay, we have a very robotic, very uninteresting settling of letters into the middle of the screen. That is a start to what we want, but we're not nearly where we need to be. Very linear, very straight. Okay, let's select all of our layers and, well, you know what? We're going to do this one at a time, actually. I want this letter, the letter A, to be small. I want it to be 50%. I want this letter to start off at 75%. I want some of my letters to start off bigger than 100%. So this letter is going to be 120. This one's going to be 150. This one could be 80. I'm just randomly assigning scales. Let's see, 90 maybe. That's not going to be super exciting, so maybe let's do 125 on that one, and then let's do 65% there. Okay, preview. All right, now we're getting somewhere. I don't like how the A, and the S are all very large on the bottom, so I'm going to take this second A right here, layer 5, and I'm going to make it scale smaller. I'm going to make it a 70%er. There we go. A little bit more visual variety there. Okay, now rotation. Rotation's fun. I'm going to select all my layers, and I'm just going to hit R twice, because the first time it hides everything, and the second time it's going to reveal just rotation for all of my layers. Stop the preview. Option Command left arrow to go to 0. And again, I'm going to go one layer at a time because I want all the rotations to be different. Just going to start off with the classic 1. Maybe put a 2 on this one, maybe a -1 on this one, maybe a 3 on this letter. Notice I'm typing the numbers in the full rotations field, 1x, 2x, -1x. That means full rotations of 360 degrees. Let's do a -3 for this letter. Let's do a -2 for that letter. -3 again, and a 2 for that. Okay, preview. Okay, now we're starting to get somewhere, and there's a little bit of whimsy to these letters. Those A's are rotating in perfect symmetry, which I don't love. That's because they're both doing -1, or 3, it looks like. 3 and -3. Let's just make this one 2, and then get rid of that perfect symmetry. Kind of want randomness for this exercise. What did we do? We broke the second A. Not very exciting, second A. Oh, we typed it in the first keyframe. First keyframe is not where you type the rotational value. Thanks for catching that. Here, I'm going to type in. Sorry. Okay. On this exercise, you actually do type in the value on the first keyframe because you want it to end up straight. I remember I went over that in class, and it sort of violated everything that I've ever told you about rotation. Yeah, we need to end at 0. There we go. My tutorials are like reality TV. I leave in all of the drama. Okay, that's pretty good. What I don't like is how linear, how they all travel the same speed the whole time, and they all just sort of robotically slam. You know what? I'm going to extend my work area. I don't like how they settle in so regularly. Let's hit Command A, and let's hit U. U reveals all keyframed properties. They're keyframes of all keyframe properties. And let's select all of our keyframes by drag selecting. We could go through every property and hit Shift Scale, Shift Rotation, Shift Position, Shift Scale. I find it's much faster just to drag select. Clicking and dragging with your mouse, drag down. Every single one of your keyframes is now selected. We can go up to Animation, Keyframe Assistant, Easy Ease to smooth out our keyframes. See the little hourglasses? That means that it's going to be smoother now. Let's hit spacebar to preview. Yes, it comes in very smoothly. That's nice. Okay, a couple more things we need to do still. One thing I don't like is that they all settle in at the exact same time. Let's see. We're going to add motion blur. We're going to stagger the keyframes a little bit. And what else do we need to do still? Oh, and then we need to, you know what? Let's add opacity. Because on the example, they fade in, don't they? They're not going to fade in over the course of the whole thing. Here, I'm going to select all, Command A, hit T to reveal opacity. And then I'm going to go to 0 on my timeline by hitting Command Option left arrow. I'm going to make a keyframe for opacity at 0. And I'm going to jump 20 frames, Command Shift right directional arrow key. Boom, boom, that's 20 frames. And I'm going to make another keyframe for opacity by clicking the diamond. Okay, I'm going to jump back to my initial keyframe, type in 0. So we fade in from 0 to 100. Now, the bad thing about that is you don't even see the fade, because by the time, We're almost at 100%. Hardly any of the letters are on screen. So what we're going to do is select all of our opacity keyframes, and we're just going to move them. We're going to slide them to the right so that as they start coming in, they start off invisible. And then, there we go. Then they fade in. That might be a little bit much. By the way, if you want to move keyframes just with keyboard shortcuts, it's Option, right and left arrow keys. And if you add Shift, guess what? It moves it 10 at a time. Let's see, Command left arrow. Let's go back. I want them to be full strength about right here, maybe? Close to here. Okay, I'm just hitting Option left arrow here to move my keyframes. All right, let's preview that. Yeah, that's good. I like that. We don't need to worry about easing opacity. In this case, it's not going to make hardly any noticeable difference. Okay, let us, I've got a kind of short timeline here, and I don't want to take up all my space, so I'm just going to hit P for position, Shift to add R, hold down Shift and type S to add scale. Okay, I want all of these things to settle in at different times. So what I'm going to do here is make this one come in a little faster. This one come in not quite so fast. This one might take a little longer. I'm just going to stop this from animating so my fan will stop revving up so loudly. Hopefully you can still hear me over the fan. And then slide that to the left, slide this a little bit to the right, and then slide this over here. Okay, what does that do? It causes all the letters to settle in at different times. Now the A and the S are a little bit too slow, so let's fix that. Let's see, let's select all, close. Which ones was it again? Yeah, that A and that S. These two, I'm going to hit U. Okay, yeah, those are too slow. They need to be in place at this point. So I'm going to drag that back there. Drag this one a little bit farther to the left. Preview. A little bit of personality there. The T is like, hey, wait up, guys. Okay, that's awesome. I think we're ready to colorize our background, aren't we? I'd say so. If that bothers any of you that the T comes in so late, just select the T, hit U, and maybe tap these keyframes. Option left directional arrow key so it hurries up a bit. Okay, we're going to need what's called a layer solid. Command A, U twice to collapse all of our layers. Let's go to Layer, New, Solid. Command Y is another way to make a layer solid. Doesn't matter what color it is, this is sort of a canvas upon which we will write this effect we're going to make. So I'm going to leave it blue. A layer solid is just a rectangle that fills up the whole entire composition. It's on the top, which I don't want. I want it to be on the bottom, so I'm going to drag it down there, or I could hit Command Shift Left square bracket to send it to the back. Right bracket sends it to the top. Command Shift Left bracket sends it to the bottom. Command Shift Right bracket, Command Shift Left bracket. Okay, we're going to apply an effect under the Effect menu, under the Generate submenu called Fill. Now the Fill menu gives you the option of keyframing the color. We could probably use the layer styles that we used earlier for the text for this, but I'm going to show you an alternative way to fill shapes in After Effects. I'm going to go to 0 on my timeline. I'm going to lay down a keyframe on the color property, and you can see, yeah, let's go down here. Let's hit E to reveal all effects. Let's flip down the fill twirly. Okay, now we can see, we can do it up here or in our effect controls panel. It's up to you which one you want to use. It doesn't matter much. Okay, now that we have our red keyframe, I'm going to make a different color about every 10 frames, and I'm okay with starting off with red. So what I'm going to do is jump 10 frames, and I'm going to click this color selector, and I'm going to change it to strawberry, or this purplish color. 10 frames, click the color selector, go to straight up blue. Basically, we're just traveling through the color selector that After Effects gives us. Let's see, do we go with cyan maybe? 10 frames. I'm going to do it up here. Let's go with like pure RGB green. Click OK. Jump 10 frames. Click color again. Let's go with straight yellow. Hard to read the letters, but it's only for a second. And I don't know, do we want to end with orange? Let's get one more in there. Let's come back to red at the end so we can have a loop here. And there we go. Now the cool thing about this, I've just set all those color keyframes and you can preview it. You can scrub through it, you can preview it, or you can flip down the color property twirly and you can see the actual gradient that you're making over time. Let's hit spacebar and see what we just made. That's great. I think we're done here. Our work is done. Pat yourself on the back and we'll see you on the next tutorial.